program is a special presentation of TNN Motorsports. 6,000 horsepower, a tick over 4.5 seconds, 310 plus miles per hour, 19 races, 8 elite drivers, $100,000, the 12th annual Budweiser Classic. It is a blustery, cool, and incredibly clear day here at Pomona Raceway in Southern California. This weekend, the site of the curtain-closing Winston Select Finals and the race within the race, the Budweiser Classic for Top Fuel dragsters. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Evans, and welcome to the first of 3 live races from Pomona we'll bring you over the weekend. We hope you enjoy all of them. This, of course, the next hour is the Budweiser Classic. Now, let me talk a little bit about that. There's not enough money in the world to buy your way into this field. You conceivably could win every race all season long and not be in the Bud Classic. It's all based on qualifying at national events. The quicker you qualify, the more points you earn, and the better your shot at joining this 8 today for $100,000 in Bud Bucks. Now, they say you can't tell the players without a program, right? Well, here's your program courtesy of Bob Fry.
Hey, program, get your program. Well, it's a long time from Pomona to Pomona, Steve, and these guys rack up a lot of miles and a lot of points en route to qualifying for the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic. And let's take a look at the way they're going to match up. You can see Kenny Bernstein and Corey Mack on the same side of the ladder. That could be interesting. The 2 Colettas on different sides of the ladder. They could meet each other in the finals. Only 3 of these drivers, Bernstein, Coletta, and Eddie Hill, actually qualified in the #1 spot during the 1996 racing season. So that's the way they're going to pair up. And now let's meet the top 8 drivers in this year's Bud Classic. In the #8 spot, veteran racer Connie Coletta with 2,200 points. Ed McCullough, the American International Airways car to Connie's 4th Top Fuel Classic. Hey, even for the CEO of a multi-million-dollar corporation, $100,000 is a pretty good payday.
Yeah, it's a prestigious race. It's something that's it's a dynamite. It's like winning the U.S. Nationals because you build up to it all year, and you really hustle to get the points in the qualifying that they can put you into that show.
Eddie Hill holds the #7 spot with 2,245 points. Pennzoil dragster crew chief is Fuzzy Carter. Eddie runner-up in the '93 Bud Classic. The same year he won the Winston Top Fuel title, and he makes his 10th Top Fuel Classic appearance.
Well, it's nice to have it our 10th. You know, it's great to be consistent enough to be able to do that as often as we have. So that feels good to be considered, I guess, a player, you know, for that length of time. And it feels good right now to have a pretty good tune-up on the car coming into this deal and have a shot at $100,000.
The #6 spot is Larry Dixon in the Miller Racing dragster with 2,315 points. Don Perdomo's car is tuned by Wes Cerny. Larry Dixon is the defending Classic champion, winning the race in his rookie season.
All I wanted to do last season was qualify at all the races to be eligible to get into the Bud Classic, just to run in there, and had no dreams of even winning it. And then here we went first round and then second round. All of a sudden we're in the final, and I'm like, wow, we got a good chance of winning this thing.
Joe Amato occupies the #5 spot, driving the Keystone Key Parts dragster with 2,470 points. Jimmy Proctor, the head wrench for the 5-time Winston Top Fuel champion, who has the distinction of being the only driver to compete in all 12 Budweiser Top Fuel Classics.
Well, you know, being one of the top 8 qualifiers for 12 years just goes to show you, I guess we've been blessed with good performance over our career, and I think we probably won more of these races than anybody else. You know, we won them when they were 25,000, 50,000. Now Budweiser's blessed us with $100,000 to win, and that's a nice payday.
Corey Mcclenathan holds the #4 spot with 2,495 points. Credit Lee Beard with tuning the McDonald's car to 3 national event wins this year. Corey has 2 runner-ups in 4 Classic appearances.
Next to Indy, that's one that everybody wants to win. I've been the runner-up maiden here twice, and I'll tell you, I like to go home with that $100,000 and actually take some of Kenny's and Budweiser's money with me.
Scott Coletta holds the #3 spot with 2,525 points. Crew chief Dick LaHaye has tuned Scott to 2 Winston championships and a runner-up at last year's Classic. Scott will get a rematch of that final round in this year's first round. In the #2 position is Shelly Anderson with 2,130 points. Shelly comes in as the #1 alternate, replacing the late Blaine Johnson. Kelly won the Classic in 1994. $100,000 at stake isn't what lights her up.
Actually, it's the honor of winning it, the title. I like the trophy. Dad gets some money, and we get always something to qualify, you know, a jacket or a suitcase or something nice that we have forever.
Kenny Bernstein has the top spot with 2,640 points. Dale Armstrong-tuned Bud King dragsters clinched the 96 Winston Crown. Kenny doesn't feel any additional pressure to win because his sponsor is putting up the purse.
It's a great event for Budweiser and for NHRA and for drag racing, so it doesn't matter. They're happy to pay the money to anyone, but I'm sure deep down they'd like to pay for the red car.
Pay a little green to the red car. Be like Christmas coming early for Kenny Bernstein. He's on a very tough side of the ladder, and it's certainly not going to be easy. And I talked with a lot of the teams earlier, and maybe the honor of just being the baddest dude on the block means more to these guys than picking up the $100,000. But there's a lot of cash up for grabs, and to tell you all about that, the third member of our broadcast team, Frank Hawley.
You know, the Budweiser Classic is one of the most exciting top fuel races of the entire season, with over $100,000 up in prize money, a total of $147,000 in total payout. Now, what's interesting that if a driver happens to win the Bud Classic today and the Winston Finals tomorrow, they get an additional $50,000 bonus from Winston. Now, that's not as impossible as it sounds, because John Force did that this year when he won the Big Bud Shootout, and the following day the U.S. Nationals. And 1 year ago here, Larry Dixon almost did the same thing. Bob?
He said he was within hundredths of a second of winning a lot of money. Well, earlier today, they squared off in round number one. Let's take a look at that first pair, Shelly Anderson and Eddie Hill, as we took a look at it earlier. There's a look at one of our previous winners, Shelly Anderson, and there's the former Winston champ, Eddie Hill. First pair in the water for the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic. Shelly Anderson's car ran extremely well at the last national event, 4 spectacular qualifying events, and then she was not able to put it together during elimination. Western Auto Parts America Machine won this thing back in 1994. We get set for the first pair. Frank Hawley is down there in the starting line area. Frank, what do weather and track conditions look like as we get set for the Classic?
This morning, I think it's going to make tracks in great shape. There's tremendous performances. Drivers, this isn't the Winston Championship points at stake here, so I think they're going to go all out and see if they can break the track record, set some low ETs, and we're certainly going to see some great matchups this morning.
There's a look at Brad Anderson. He won 3 Winston championships and basically dominated here in this racetrack back in the alcohol category. He's got his daughter Shelly moving that Western Auto Parts America car to the starting line in front of a huge crowd here at the Fairplex. Eddie Hill, Shelly Anderson, first pair on the line. Tires, and Eddie Hill strolls into round number 2 of the Classic with a 488, 278 miles an hour. He was there for the taking. He too smoked the tires down track, got dangerously close to that center line, but the Pennzoil car has marched into the second round here in the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic. Watch this. As soon as they hit the tires, Shelly Anderson, just like she did in her last 2 runs at Dallas 2 weeks ago, smokes the tires. They have not been able to regain that form that they had in qualifying at Dallas. Eddie Hill now strikes the tires, strolls toward the center line at the middle of the racetrack, and then straightens it out. 488, the numbers, 278 miles an hour. Eddie Hill, Ursi, his wife, and Fuzzy Carter. It wasn't pretty, but they have gone in to round number 2. Steve Evans at the far end of the racetrack with our first winner.
I'll tell you, Tex, a 480 shouldn't have won that drag race, but it did, and a little close to that center line. Scary.
Man, that deal was really wormy, but I didn't want to give it up. I didn't see Shelly, and I didn't know where she was. Didn't want her to come thundering by, so I tried to string her on through there, and hope it works better next time, but it's good to be here.
This may be a different racetrack than we've seen this weekend. There's cloud cover. It's cooled off 15 degrees.
Well, that's right, too. And then, of course, first pair may be a little bit of a disadvantage. The track will probably get a little better after another pair or two.
Stay with us, everyone. We'll be back with more round 1 action of the Budweiser Classic here on TNN.
TNN's exclusive live coverage of the Budweiser Classic is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. Valvoline Durablend, the #1 selling semi-synthetic motor oil. Welcome back, everybody. It is Chamber of Commerce weather here in Southern California. Now, maybe a couple of degrees colder than the Chamber of Commerce likes, but it is ideal for Top Fuel racing here in the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic. We got a great rematch of a former final coming up in round #1. Right now, let's look back at 92. The championship run would feature Corey Mcclenathan running as an independent against Joe Amato, who virtually dominated this racetrack in the early years. Ironically, Jimmy Prock, who was with Corey Mack then, is with Joe Amato now. Couple of car lengths. And Joe Amato got the win, and Corey Mack made it to the finals and came oh so close. And that year he also came very close to winning the Winston Championship. He just missed that by about 92 points. Let's take a look at another first round matchup as we took a look at round 1 of the Budweiser Classic. Here are a couple of the big hitters, the red hot Corey Mcclenathan and the guy that basically owned this classic in the early days, Joe Amato. Frank Holy, I want to check with you. The tire smoke we saw from Shelly Anderson's car, do you think that was more car or more racetrack or a combination?
Well, we're getting ready to find out, Bob. You know, I think the lanes are probably fairly even right now. Shelly was going up there. She knew Eddie was going to run well. I think they would have rethought it if they could have, knowing that Eddie was going to have problems further down track. But I would expect to see some pretty good side-by-side stuff down here. I was out walking around the starting line before they started the Classic, and I'll tell you, the lanes look pretty good to me, Bob.
Steve, this ought to be a monster run. Just the luck of the draw. Two of the big-time runners in our sport of Top Fuel are going to beat right here, and one of them's going to bow out early.
And I'll tell you, Corey Mcclenathan wants to win this race maybe more than any other driver that I talked to. Fresh off that victory in Dallas, he has the steadiest car in the country right now. He can run mid-460s, and in qualifying for tomorrow's Winston Select Finals, he is #1 on the list.
Yep, and he has never run better than he has here in qualifying. He's been in the mid-460s. Joe Amato won this race 5 of the first 6 times. Jimmy Prock, the crew chief, moves his guy up to the starting line. Joe Amato and Corey Mcclenathan, and as Steve said, there's not a hotter guy in the class right now than the driver of the Mickey D's car. Great drag race, and look at this. 4:69. Corey Mcclenathan beats Joe Amato's 4:64. A stunning driving job. Corey Mack, not that brilliant on the line with that 4:92 reaction time you saw, but Joe Amato must have been distracted or lost concentration. He had a reaction time of 6:17, and Corey Mack carries the wheels a little bit, sets him down. He runs 300 miles an hour. He is 500 slower on the racetrack, but watch this. At the finish line, just like at the starting line, Corey Mack is first. Wow. Sensational run, and the McDonald's car goes into round #2 and chalk one up for the drivers. And Steve, that's why they make the big bucks.
Oh, buddy, I'll tell you, we used to call this the Joe Amato benefit. Not anymore. Corey Mack, a 4:69, took out Joe's much quicker run.
Really, I'll tell you, she had the front end in the air for a long time, and I thought, just stay in it, kid. It'll come down. It did a real smooth run. McDonald's car doing a great job. Try to do my job here in the winner's circle. That takes us by
2 more runs like that, and he may have that 100 grand. Stay with us, everybody. We'll be back with more from the Fairplex in Pomona.
TNN's exclusive coverage of the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic is brought to you by Pep Boys. 26,000 items at the guaranteed low price. Tires and service too. Everything but gas. And by Peerless Faucet. Get more out of your faucet than just water. Corey Mack certainly has given everybody something to shoot at here in round number 1. First of all, he did a good job of driving. Secondly, a big ET. There's another great matchup coming up. It's a rematch of the finals from 1995. 1995 saw Larry Dixon try to cap his dream season with a win in the Classic. Scott Coletta had him flat out covered, and then he broke, and Larry Dixon drives by to get the win. After the red lights start, and Larry Dixon with a big win and $100,000 and an opportunity to go double up if he could come back and win in the Winston Select Finals on Sunday. Great year for Larry Dixon last year. Let's take a look at how these two guys did in their round 1 match. There's your defending champion. It's the Miller team. It's Larry Dixon, who had a brilliant rookie season. Earned himself the Winston Rookie of the Year honors last year. 1996 has not been quite as kind. 1 win for the Don Prudhomme team. And Scott Coletta in the American International Airways car in the other lane also. Just 1 win on the 1996 campaign. And it's stunning when you take a look at the quality of these 2 race cars and realize they've only been in winning circle 1 season. Frank Hawley won the first Big Bud shootout in the funny cars, and Frank, you got to really be excited about what you saw Corey Mack do. That's why the drivers really deserve those big paychecks.
Well, you know, a lot of times the person who wins is the person who makes the fewest mistakes, and clearly for whatever reason Joe Amato made a pretty expensive mistake there, because it appeared that he had his car running well enough that they could have won this thing today. A lot of pressure on these drivers to come out here, not make those mistakes, be able to perform round after round after round within 100th of a second. And the person that can do that, the true chief that can keep the car stuck to the ground, they're going to be the team that's going to win today. I'll tell you, if you look at this top fuel racing is almost getting as close as the pro stock competition. Bob?
Qualifying position number 1 for Scott Coletta. A couple of times this year, Larry Dixon did not make the number 1 qualifying position, but he was twice a couple of times. Dick LaHaye, a master at tuning race cars to the racetrack. And Steve Evans, I think that's the key. You got to race the track here today.
Oh, indeed you do. And let's not forget that Larry Dixon is the defending champion of the Budweiser Classic. Won it in his rookie season. For Scott Coletta, a win here today could be a season saver. They are really demoralized in that camp. They need a pump up, and this could be it.
They move them up carefully to the starting line. They will accelerate in a hurry. These cars take off like they're shot from a gun, and just like the matchup before it, one of the big cars going to bow out early here in the Top Fuel Classic. Dixon fires and falls back, loses a blower belt. Scott Coletta gets the win, 468, a great top end speed, 314 miles an hour, a 485 reaction time. Remember, 400 is perfect, so not bad. Dixon goes 502, slows to 229 miles an hour. That blower belt came off. I think he had problems before that. Watch the car on the far side of the racetrack. He was off the starting line first, yanks the front wheels just a little bit, and then start throwing some fuel out those headers early. I don't think the Silver Miller car is hitting on all cylinders from about the 300-foot mark. Bang, the blower goes, off comes the supercharger belt, and into round number 2 goes the Dick LaHaye tune, top fuel car of Scott Coletta.
Not a much better start for you here in 96 than you had in 95 at this event.
Well, that's for sure. You know, got by the kid, and we're going to go. Hopefully we had some more fun today.
And a tremendous 468. You needed that, too.
Oh, that's cool. You know, we've been sort of lost here lately, and who knows? These things are unpredictable. Maybe it's going to be nice to us for a change.
Okay, good luck to you, Scott Coletta. Let's go to Frank Hawley in the Mammoth Pits here at Pomona. He's with the enemy for Scott Coletta in the Final Four.
Eddie Hill's crew has just gotten his car back into the pit area after a 4.88 second victory over a tire smoking Shelly Anderson in the first round of competition. Now, Eddie wasn't really excited about that run. He was happy to win, but a 4.88 isn't good enough to win this race today. The crew is frantically working on the car. Eddie thinks he's got a few ideas that he could change to improve the top end performance of the car, and they're going to do that for the next round. So don't go away, because right after this break is more exciting Bud Classic action at the Fairplex in Pomona, California.
Welcome back, everybody. The Budweiser Top Fuel Classic. We're coming to the end of round number 1. Let's take a look at the final pairing here. One of the cars everybody expects to do well. Kenny Bernstein, as he matched up with Connie Coletta. This is the way it happened earlier today here at Pomona. Coletta trying to join his son Scott in round number 2. They are on opposite sides of the ladder. If indeed he could advance, he could meet the kid in the final. Don't tell that to the red car. The Bud King. Steve Evans, I would have to say that on paper, out of the 4 matchups here in round 1, this is the one that mathematically would appear to be an overmatch. Bernstein would appear to have Connie's number.
I would agree with you on that, Bob. This morning in pre-race ceremonies, Kenny Bernstein and I were walking along the racetrack, and it looks absolutely perfect. Kenny said, I hope we have enough for this track. And his crew chief, Dale Armstrong, said, don't worry, buddy. We got plenty.
Connie Coletta, who has been doing this a long while, his best ET of the season was a 4.69 at Maple Grove. Bernstein, of course, has been in the 4.50s and arguably the most talented crew in all of Top Fuel racing right now, under the watchful eye of Dale Armstrong. The Bud King, the Prolong, and the Hooters, one of the highly financed race cars coming to the starting line. He qualified number 1 4 different occasions this year. And Kenny Bernstein, along with Corey Mack right now, would appear to be the 2 hottest guys on the circuit. Of course, all those big numbers and all the hype didn't help Kenny 2 weeks ago down at Dallas when he punched the tires and put himself out in round 2. Just like that. Oh, look at that. Connie throws some sparks out, popped the blower. He's got some flames out the side of the race car, but he is going into round number 2. 484, 245, and the arithmetic not important right here. What is the spelling. W-I-N, and Scott Coletta and Connie have both advanced. And how about Kenny Bernstein right out of the gate, just like Shelly Anderson on the first pair, moves about 30 feet and then starts to smoke the tires. From there, he could not recover as Connie Coletta goes right down Broadway and into round number 2. Now watch Connie's car. You'll see the big flash come out of it, out of the left bank. And he's got big problems, but not nearly as big as the problems for the Budweiser King. 484, Connie goes into round number 2 where he will meet Corey Mcclenathan.
Well, Connie, it was all over when he smoked the tires, but you smoked the motor, but you got the win, and that's what you wanted.
That's what it's all about.
This car has actually been on par 3 times on 3 runs.
Shooting the head gasket out of it. We don't know for sure why. It just sort of all of a sudden jumped up on this one, so they can blow the head gasket out of number 1, and we dropped the compression in it. We'll try some more, I guess.
Hope you find it. Hey, Bob, what about the pairings for the final 4?
There they are. It's Connie and Corey Mack. Lane choice to the red-hot Corey Mcclenathan in the McDonald's entry. He's going to be awfully tough to handle. Eddie Hill, as Frank Hawley said, probably needs to go better than 88 if he wants to get around Scott Coletta. And, hey, it could be an all-Coletta final here this weekend. Let's go in the pits again and join Frank Hawley.
I'm here in the middle of the thrash at Corey Mcclenathan's pit area. Corey just came off that great 469 first round win, but Lee Beard, Corey's crew chief, tells me that the car's actually starting to spin the tires about 1,000 feet down the racetrack. When it does that, loses traction. It takes a load off the engine and the car drops cylinders or misfires. So Lee has a few ideas for the next round. He thinks he can get this car in the low 460s. If he can, that should be good enough to put Corey Mcclenathan in the final of the Bud Classic. So don't go away, because after this break, there's going to be a lot more exciting action here at the Fairplex in Pomona.
Commercial transportation for this broadcast has been brought to you by Ryder, the official transportation company for Opryland. What a great first round it was. A little bit of everything there in round number 1 of the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic, and we got some semifinal stuff coming up in just a little bit, so stick around. But let's take a look at some of those things that happened so quickly in round number 1. Kenny Bernstein in that opening round, the odds-on favorite, and watch. A lot of smoke. That's not good if you're driving the red car. Kenny Bernstein came in as the prohibitive favorite right there off some big qualifying numbers recently, but a lot of smoke, and he'll be a no-show as we get set to go into round number 2. Also in that opening round of competition, we saw some fantastic numbers. Corey Mcclenathan getting the big win against Joe Amato. And yet Joe Amato turning a tremendous elapsed time here in this run. It did give him the #1 qualifying position, but it did not advance him into round number 2 of the Classic. Unbelievable numbers here. And Corey Mack, by a good car length, his 69 beat Joe Amato's 64. And for a guy that's a 5-time Winston driving champ, Joe Amato, he couldn't be happy with the outcome there, although at the time it did give him the #1 qualifying position. Now, Corey Mcclenathan looking for his first ever Top Fuel Classic win. He'd been to the finals before, but boy, he cannot forget the way he lost to Shelly Anderson. Corey Mcclenathan looking to pick up the bucks, never moved on the starting line. Shelly Anderson streaked to her first ever Top Fuel Classic in front of the home crowd, and what a way for Corey Mcclenathan to lose. Never even got to take the car down the racetrack. So there were some great upsets, some great happenings in this and previous Top Fuel Classics. Steve?
Well, Bob, as you know, crew chiefs in this sport have to keep a constant eye on the weather, and usually that's just heat and humidity. But here this weekend at Pomona, the winds have been stout and ever-changing. For example, yesterday the wind was blowing straight up the racetrack, so a lot of the guys took a little of the attack out of this wing, make the car go faster on the top end. Today, the wind has been blowing directly down the racetrack, a Santa Ana wind, so the wings kind of went back to where they were before. Now it's turning into kind of a crosswind. I don't know what they do, but I know I'm getting a crick in my neck. Frank Hawley, you there?
As a Top Fuel driver heads to the finish line at over 300 miles per hour, he has to actually take his hand off the steering wheel lever and activate a manual chute lever. Sometimes things can get a little hairy down there, and he'd like to keep both hands on the steering wheel. A few years ago, Corey Mcclenathan came up with an air-activated parachute lever, and it worked quite well. Top Fuel driver Eddie Hill's taken that one step further. This button here operates an air cylinder, which opens the first parachute. This button here operates a second parachute and also shuts the fuel off. So as he heads to the finish line, if Eddie decides that he wants his hands on the steering wheel, he can stop the car and shut it off without ever removing his hands from the steering wheel. If these fail, there's a manual override system right here.
We got some great Final Four action. I guess it's semifinal Final Four action coming up. It's going to be the Colettas, Corey, Eddie Hill coming up next. TNN's exclusive live coverage of the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. Welcome back. We're all set for the semifinals. Let's see how this came out. First one, it's that Coletta and that Corey guy. Those magnificent men in their flying machines. Well, the American International Airways flying machine with the pilot, Connie Coletta, getting set to duke it out with Corey Mcclenathan. Winner is one step closer to $100,000. Nothing like billowing smoke from the tires here in Southern California. The track and air seem to be just right for some big times. Frank Hall is down there near the starting line, and Frank, I don't think anybody should have any excuse for not putting a good number up on the board here.
You're right, Bob. Both lanes are very equal. The air stayed nice and cool all day long. These were two of the quicker cars in the first round. Most of our winners in the first round happened in the right lane. I don't think that's really going to be a factor. What do you think, Steve?
I think the lanes are absolutely identical. Now, Connie Coletta has been down this racetrack 3 times this weekend, and all 3 times he has been a rolling blowtorch. Crew chief Ed McCullough has got to put a longer fuse on that motor if Connie is to have a shot against the most consistent car in the country right now, Corey Mack.
Corey Mack's been to the finals here twice in the last couple of years. No Coletta has ever won the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic, and that's because no Coletta has ever gotten to the finals. Dick LaHaye did back in 1987. He went to the finals, got punched out by Joe Amato. Ed McCullough and this very talented team, under the watchful eye of the aforementioned Dick LaHaye, are going to try to take Connie and put him into the finals, where hopefully, at least for this team, they'll beat Scott Coletta. They are really taking their time to stage him up. Oh, my, way up in the air. Connie, he looked like his kid down at Gainesville earlier this year. Might have actually touched the wall when he came back down, banged up the front of the race car, and Corey Mcclenathan with a career best. As we take a look at Connie, he's got all kinds of problems, and that fuse wasn't long enough, Steve, because, man, they really banged the American International Airways car. Corey Mack, a career best, 462, 314 miles an hour. He goes to the finals for the third time, and Connie, who went straight up, just like one of his airplanes. Watch this on the far side, and here it comes. Bam, and it comes back down, and the front end of that race car is history. Connie is just a passenger right now along for the ride, and look at this. A picture-perfect run for the Mickey D's car. 462 for the win.
Not even thousands of hours as a jet pilot doesn't prepare you for one of those deals.
No, it really don't. It come up, and I thought it would hang there and start to come back down again, and then the clutch got more aggressive inside the car. You know, they just pulled it on up, and then I tried to pedal it, and I was behind on it, so we got a messed up front end on the car. We'll fix it.
I'm sure you will. Sorry to see you out, buddy.
You know, in the first round, Corey Mcclenathan had problems smoking the tires near the finish line. His crew chief's with me right now. We're live on the starting line before the final. Lee, you made some adjustments, and it produced a record run. Can you do it again?
Well, we think we can. It's cooling down a little bit here, and the track's getting prepared real well, so we're hoping for the best.
So don't go away, because after this break, we're going to come back and meet the other finalist, because we are live in Bud Classic Top Fuel Action final round coming up.
Welcome back, everybody. We know who one of the finalists is going to be here in that rush for 100 grand. Let's find out who the other finalist is going to be. Here's the way the other semifinal round went earlier. Eddie Hill, Fuzzy Carter, they've been together for an awfully long time, the better part of 2 decades, going back to the old boat days. Dick LaHaye and the Coletta family, and they have basically built themselves a dynasty the last couple of years in Top Fuel. And oh, what Scott's got to be thinking as he rolls to the starting line. Frank Hawley is a former driver. Can you possibly surmise what Scott Coletta must be thinking after watching what his dad just went through before him?
LaHaye, I was talking with Dick LaHaye, and he said that he thinks that Connie's problems might have been self-inflicted. He wanted to have this little staging battle because Corey Mcclenathan never wants to stage first. Connie forced him to do that. That burned a lot more fuel out of the car, and Dick thinks that Connie's wheel stand was the result of burning that extra weight off the front end of the car. We're not real sure. I think Scott Coletta's got to be awful confident knowing that you can run a 462 in that right-hand lane, Steve.
Now, it's very interesting because you talk about that. Don Garlis, to this day, will tell you that's the reason he did that big blow over at Englishtown years ago, that he ran too much fuel out of it and lightened up the front end. Of course, Eddie, right here at this track, a big blow over a couple of years ago. Eddie Hill has been running extremely well. Scott Coletta's got his work cut out for him. Eddie tested the day after the Chief Auto Parts Nationals and ran 5 runs, ran a career best and ran 3:11, but that was only practice. Scott Coletta wants to get to the finals and take on Corey Mack, a great rivalry that those two have had over the years. They're set. Eddie Hill up in smoke, and he is out of here. Scott Coletta, 479. 299 and change, and the Colettas will be in the finals, and the kid is plenty happy about that. A reaction time of 471. Eddie Hill smoked the tires. If you're at home keeping score, 818, 95 miles an hour. Not going to get you much here in the Bud Top Fuel Classic, except the losing time card. Here's about 100 feet out of the gate, and at that point, all he could do is sit and watch as Scott Coletta is this much closer to $100,000.
Scott Coletta, for the first time in his career in the final of the Budweiser Classic. What went through your mind when you saw your dad do that moonshot? Did you drive any differently because of that?
No, yeah, I staged. Secondly, I was in the final last year, but hey, we just want to go whip on Corey. It's my turn. He won last week. My turn, hopefully.
Nobody he would rather race for big money.
That'll set it up. It should be fun. It'll be interesting to see if anybody stages first in this. These two babies might run out of fuel before anybody moves into stage. Scott and Corey Mack. Down on the starting line again, Frank Hawley.
We're live back on the starting line, and our other finalist in the Budweiser Classic is Scott Coletta. And with me is his crew chief, Dick LaHaye. Dick, you got a tough car in the other lane there, but you guys are up to the challenge. What do you think the final's going to be like?
It should be a real good race. You know, we're not looking to go out there and set the world on fire, but we're looking for somewhere between a 65 and a 68, and hope that Scott can leave on time, and we'll take home that 100,000.
100,000 is a great payday for any race team. The finals set for one of the most exciting top fuel races of the year. What do you think, Bob Fry?
Well, I think a 65 or 68 might not be good enough to get that win. We'll find out when we come back live on TNN. Welcome back, everybody. Boy, that's a talented crew, that Diamond P folks. They got Drag Racing 96 finished, and we're not finished yet. I guess the tape's not actually done, but we've got one more run here for the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic, and what a magnificent setting this racetrack is. Corey Mcclenathan, he's been to the finals twice. He's looking to pick up his first win ever. He's going to take on Scott Coletta. Steve Evans, Dick LaHaye said they're looking for a 65 or a 68. Is that going to be good enough?
Well, I'll tell you, Bob, one thing that's not going to happen. Scott Coletta will not play any staging games with Corey Mack. He saw what happened to his dad. Another thing I think is a certainty. He will try to leave on Corey Mack, get a better reaction time, because you're right. I don't think a 65 or 68 is enough to challenge the Mickey D's car. He needs a reaction time advantage off the starting line. He might even risk a red light to get it.
That's exactly what he did last year when he fouled out against Larry Dixon. They were this close to winning the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic. It's come down to the hottest guy in the class right now. Couple of wins, Indy champ, Dallas champ. His best qualifying effort of the weekend right here. A chance to qualify #1, but he's got to take on Scott Coletta. Frank Hawley, Lee Beard's been here before. He was in that classic 1990 final with Joe Amato when he had Gary Ormsby's race car. So Lee is no stranger, knows what he's got to do to win this thing. Part of the great crowd on hand here at the Fairplex in Pomona. Horse qualifying will end today, and we'll be back live tomorrow in the morning on NHRA Today, and again tomorrow afternoon with the live finals. Frank Hawley's down there in that starting line area as these two cars get set to crown the 1996 Budweiser Top Fuel Classic. Let's see if Frank is down there. Frank, you nearby?
Yeah, I'm down here, Bob, and I'll tell you, the tension is building. These drivers are two of the best. The boost machines are two of the best. And the fans are just standing on their feet waiting to see what's going to happen. I'm not going to make a pick right here now, but I'll tell you, I think it's going to be one of the closer finals we've seen all year long.
Well, if everything goes according to form, the red car, the McDonald's machine in the near lane, should be able to take out Dick LaHaye. I think the red car is the favorite. Steve, your pick?
First time in history, I'm going to agree with you, Bob Fry.
It's such a warm and fuzzy kind of guy. Ladies and gentlemen, $100,000 on the line. Scott Coletta, and how about that Dick LaHaye? Set a 465. They run 4, 6, 4, 8, 316.5 miles an hour. Corey Mack right there deserved a better fate. He goes 467 at 309 and change, and he is out of here. They were virtually dead even out of the starting gate. 1,000th of a second advantage went to Corey Mack. All the way down the racetrack, they were just about dead even. Oh my, Scott Coletta, 2 years in a row and finally picks up the win. He gets it by a nose, and Dick LaHaye took him to the win championship. Let's go down to the starting line and Frank Hawley.
Dick, it was a rough season, but it's ended up pretty good, isn't it?
Well, we come in here, you know, saying that if we could win this one and maybe win the race, it might save the season somewhat. I told you I'd run a 65 or a 68 or something. It surprised me to run 64. So,
well, good luck tomorrow, too.
Pardon me?
Good luck tomorrow, too.
Thanks much.
Steve?
I don't know, Bob Fry, but the taste of crow isn't all that unpleasant. You were denied a year ago, not now. How about a 464?
Oh, awesome. Dicko, he's bad. I tell you what, you know, them guys are tough. You know, we figured give it our best shot. If it's Dick's, you know, maybe we can beat him. If not, we gave it our best shot.
I got more. How about 316 miles an hour? That's very close to a record. Might even be.
Oh, I tell you what, that's pretty stout. As much oil is dripping off of this thing, I wouldn't think it ran that fast, but who cares?
They got lots of oil, and now they got lots of money. Karen Holschlag from Anheuser-Busch presenting Scott Coletta with a plywood check. You can actually deposit. John Force did one time for $100 grand. Bob Fry.
How about that? That Dick LaHaye surely knows his stuff. And our Mopar high performer is Scott Coletta. His first win in a couple of classic final rounds. He picks up $100 grand, and there's more money lying on the table tomorrow. And I guarantee you, the guys from Michigan don't want to leave it sitting there here this weekend. Great crowd here at the Fairplex, and we'll be back with more. And congrats to our winners in the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic. TNN's exclusive live coverage of the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. Boy, this was fun, and not only for us here on TNN, but for the thousands of folks here at Pomona Raceway as they got an opportunity to take a look at the newest winner in the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic. Look at that. Only Don Garlett spoiled Joe Amato's sweep in the first 6 years. Bernstein a couple of times, Shelley, Dixon, Scott Coletta, a couple of different winners in the last 3 years. Let's go to the far end of the racetrack and Steve Evans.
I said at the top of the show that maybe no driver wanted this win more than Corey Mack, and it's tough to lose it by 0.003 of a second, but a great drag race.
Yeah, it really was. We just, we had the car all day, and I mean, Dicko, you know, God, two-time world champion. Those guys over there in Scott, they stepped her up, and they got the win and all the big money from Bud, but I'll tell you, I'm really proud of my guys anyway. Doing a great job this weekend, and tomorrow's the race I want to win anyways, and try to stay in second place.
Thanks for a great final round, my friend. It was wonderful. Bob Fry, I'll see you tomorrow, huh?
All right, Steve, I'm still spitting those feathers out. Tomorrow, live, 1 p.m. Eastern, NHRA today, including opening round of Top Fuel action. And tomorrow night, the finals from the finals, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, Winston Select Finals, all the championship rounds, right here with Frank Hawley and Ralph Shaheen, Steve Evans, and myself. Hope you will all tune in. It promises to be just as exciting as all the action we saw here live today. Congrats to Scott Coletta, our Bud Classic winner. Top Fuel Classic has been a production of Diamond P Sports and the Nashville Network, leaders in live motorsports television.